Keeping your doggos entertained during lockdown can be a bit tricky, especially for breeds with high energy like our collie. So we've been racking our brain trying to think of ways to keep Indy busy, both mentally and physically.
And so without further ado, we give you 10 ways to keep your dog entertained during lockdown.
1. Food dispensing toys. We've always used toys to feed Indy instead of a bowl. This not only ensures that he doesn't scoff all his food and get sick, but it also provides mental and physical stimulation. Every meal he has is spread over a range of toys, ones that he has to lift and tip, ones he needs to snuffle the food out of, ones that he needs to manipulate like a puzzle, and basically any toy that we can hide food in, we use. And this includes getting extra use out of the stuffed toys that he's ripped up. It is particularly important to note that any of the plastic toys or smaller ones are only given to him under strict supervision.
Number 2, stuff to lick. And we use a licky mat, which are really cheap and you can buy them from Amazon. You can put a variety of different things on the licky mat, and what makes it so special is that it's got ridges, and so the dog will spend quite a while trying to get that food out. In particular, we like to use natural yogurt. We'll use a really small teaspoon and spread it really far across the mat. Or we use pea mutt butter. And yes, we have just said mutt butter. Human peanut butter is generally not safe for dogs, and we advise that you don't use it. You can again buy peanut butter from most pet stores, and you can get it on Amazon. Alongside that, if you don't like those ideas, they also sell a variety of liver pastes for dogs online, and in really small quantities you can put those on the licky mat as well. The mat is a really great treat for him. We don't give it to him every day, but he spends so much time investigating it and trying to get the food out of it. And considering he's a dog that likes to chew and destroy things, he has treasured his licky mat and he's never destroyed it, and he's had it since he was a puppy, so it's a real win for us.
Number 3, chew toys. Another great way to give your dog something to do, if they are a chewer especially, is a long-term edible chew, like a yak's milk or a coffee wood. We get Indy these because 1, he likes to chew, 2, he loves them, and 3, he likes to sit with them for a long time. Again, we never leave him unsupervised with these, but the amazing thing with the yak's milk, for example, is that when it gets really small and he's chewed off most of it, you're left with a little bit at the end that you can then put in the microwave with some hot water, and you can create a little crispy puff for him at the end, which he absolutely loves as well. And the coffee wood is a bit of a random one, but we discovered this last year as my sister gave us one that their bulldogs weren't using, and Indy loved it. And it's a natural edible wood that is good for their gut, but a warning with those, they can be pretty messy. We also use rawhides with Indy, but we try to use these less regularly as he eats them very quickly. And we also ensure that we use the thicker knotted rawhides, and to stay away from the thin shapes, the thin stick ones, because they seem to be a bit of a choking hazard. Of course, there are other shop-bought chew toys like Nylobones as well, which we're big fans of, but they tend to lose their novelty after a while, especially with an active-minded dog like Indy.
Number 4 is toy rotation. This is a simple and effective way to make all the things you do have more exciting. So this may involve you splitting your toys in 2 and keeping some in a separate room and some in your main room. And this means that the toys that become a little bit boring can then regain their novelty and become exciting again. It's a really effective way at making your dog more excited when you've removed those toys. We have upstairs toys and downstairs toys and living room toys and kitchen toys, and it works really well for Indy. He seems to almost forget what he's got, and he's excited when he sees it again.
Number 5, clean their toys. So it goes without saying, you should regularly clean your dog's toys for hygiene purposes, but on top of that, an extra clean or just running a toy under a hot tap for just a moment, it can create a bit more excitement for that toy, make it a bit more new, a bit more fresh, and it will give a different sort of sense of that toy for your dog, because you've got to remember that a dog's nose is in charge for most of their life. So by just changing the way the toy smells for the dog can make it a lot more exciting. And just a note, if you're washing any of the fabric toys they've got, hold off on the detergents and scented kind of cleaners, and probably just wash it in lukewarm water.
That brings us to number 6. I can't count, I did 7. This brings us to number 6. And this is my absolute favourite, and it's cardboard, and this is a game changer. A quick safety note that if you are using cardboard to make enrichment and toys for your dog, please remove staples or sellotape or anything that you think could be harmful, and ensure that when you've given the cardboard to your dog that they aren't eating it. And if they are, please remove. So the wonder of cardboard is you can be as creative as you like. So that means that you can keep your toilet roll tubes, you can keep your kitchen roll tubes, you can keep your Amazon parcels or any kind of cardboard that you might get from food packaging, and you can reuse these and make toys out of them. And that could be anything from putting holes in them and making shakers to just sealing them over and letting your dog tear them apart. Obviously this comes with a messy warning. It's going to make a mess in your house, but you're in lockdown, your dog is bored and you want them to leave you alone. So it could be a good solution for you. It's one of Indy's favourites. He's actually more excited about cardboard boxes that his toys come in than the actual toys themselves.
Yeah. Number 7, training. This is a double win. It uses loads of brain power and builds a strong bond between you and your dog. For a dog to learn a new trick, or even just to practice heel, sit, stay, etc., it really does give them something for their brain to work on. And 5 or 10 minutes of training in a day can really help your dog use up those last bits of brain energy they've got going on.
Okay, so we are on number 8, and that is the find it game. And so any dog can be taught to find it. This essentially means that you ask your dog to sit or stay in a location where they then can't see you. You hide something, whether that be a treat, a ball, a toy, and you say, find it, and they go and find it. And it's one of Indy's favourite games. He told me himself. And he seems to be really engaged in this game, and I don't think I've ever seen his tail move as fast as it does when he's finding and searching for things. And we found it's a really good way at using up his brain power, and particularly good in the evenings when he was a younger pup. He would be very excitable at bedtime. If we did 20 minutes of find it games, then he would be really relaxed and he would sleep the whole night through.
Number 9, walks. Obviously, if during the lockdown you're able to walk your dog, you've got to try and keep it interesting, finding different routes, letting them sniff and go from a short lead to a long lead. It's all about variety for a dog to have interesting and novel walks each time. It's something we always try to do. It's easy to get into a set routine, walk the same way every time, but you've got to remember that the walk is for the dog and not for you. So trying to make it interesting for the dog is really key to keeping them engaged and making it interesting for them. And varying your route provides new scents and new sights for the dog, and also giving them the opportunity to sniff and explore lets them use some of their senses even more and lets them use up some more of that energy. You may notice a difference in your dog after a new route is walked, because they'll be more tired after having to sniff all those new scents that they've never smelt before. And varying between a long and a short line is something that we find really useful with Indy, that after he's been on a long line for a while and we bring him onto a short, he's much more responsive to training, and it works really well from us. If your dog's really good at recall, then off lead time is also a really great way of letting them use up their energy, and something we've avoided so far during the social distancing. But it can be a really good way of giving them that freedom, and then bringing them into the lead walking. They'll just have that extra bit of attention ready. Even if you can't walk your dogs outside during the lockdown, then popping them on the lead in the house and taking them around the house and doing some training that way, it will still provide some novelty and excitement for the dogs.
Okay, so that brings us to number 10, and this is Nick's favourite, which is be a dog. And Nick's really good at pretending to be a dog. And I think that's why Indy feels that Nick is his favourite, and I'll allow it because I don't want to be that way, but that's fine. So by being a dog, I mean be as crazy and as silly as you possibly can be. So Nick will get on the floor with Indy, they roll around together, they run around the house and the living room and the garden. And this doesn't have to be, for long periods of time, maybe 2-minute or 5-minute bursts. But Indy seems to get so much joy out of those moments with Nick. And I I think it's great to observe, even if I don't take part. But obviously, again, another little safety note: only behave this way with your dog if you know that they are comfortable with it. Indy really likes tactile, rolling around on the floor, and like he likes to jump on us, and we're okay with that. But not all dogs are, so play it by ear with your dog and make sure you know what they're comfortable with, as well as yourself.
And we try and set boundaries. Try being the app word, but trying to set the boundaries with your dog, because
when you're pretending to be a dog, I have no problem with boundaries.
But we're trying to make sure Indy knows when the fun stops. But
he's getting there. He's he's 11 months old. He's still doing a lot of learning and a lot of developing.
Yeah.
But as long as he's happy.
But it's good fun.
Thing.
I get as much fun out of it as he does. So.
Yeah.
So those were all of our top tips on ways to keep your dog entertained during the lockdown and in general. So even when the lockdown's over, fingers crossed that happens at some point.
Soon.
It will give you some really good tips for keeping those dogs entertained. And please take note of the safety tips. We don't want to be responsible for poorly dogs. So I hope you enjoyed the tips, and if you guys try them out at all and you get anything from it or don't, let us know. Drop us comments on here or on social media, on our Instagram or anything like that, and let us know if you got anything out of it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you over on We Are Animals on Instagram. Not this one.
Back legs go.